Hi, that's Gianpaolo Russo for a new edition of PPC World News, and we have a very welcome guest tonight. Is Frederick Vallaeys. Hi, Fred.
Hey, Gianpaolo.
He's going to be also to the moderator of ADworld Experience the next April. Don't lose any more time, and let's go to the news directly. The first one I want to speak about today with Fred and you is written by Brad Geddes about the exit match. Me myself, I wrote something about it. In extreme synthesis, he says that you have to check what exactly is doing Google with your former exact matches. I don't know which are, if you have your impressions about it, Fred. If you like this new modified exact or not.
Yeah, well, do I like it? It certainly gives me more chances to talk about scripts and automation. So I think people are freaking out when Google changes anything, and it's actually quite interesting when you build a script or a little tool that analyzes what does Google actually consider to be a close variant. And just for context here, right? So what Google is basically doing is they're saying even if you have an exact match keyword, that may now match to a query that has the same intent. But what does the same intent really mean? That's a big question. It could be very close, could be good, or it could be something that's very far removed from what you actually do. And that's sort of why people are freaking out, is that they lose control over targeting with keywords, and so they also lose a little bit of control over bid management. What I've seen for the most part is that Google is still pretty close to the intent and what the keyword really means. But Brad is saying that there are certain instances where that's not the case, and you just have to be vigilant and you have to keep an eye on it, I think, is the main point.
Yeah, exactly what I experienced myself. Let's pass to another news by Martin Gerding. It's not done on purpose, but he too will be another experience next.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of good speakers that you're
yeah, exactly. But I've not done on purpose. I swear it. Okay, and he did a very nice experiment about. It looked into average click-through rates in Google network and Google Search Network and search partners, and he realized that. You cannot ever trust the CTR average because in some cases it's deceiving actually, because you have to look a little into the data to be sure. But nothing really to comment here. I think it's
and the one thing I'll say is that whether it's ad testing or anything else, we all know the adage that averages lie. And this is basically what he's saying, is if you just look at the average CTR, it includes different segments like Google Search and search partners. So he says just look at Google Search, but I would take that one step further. I would say, well, even on Google Search, you get different types of customers with different interests. And so anytime you're doing a sort of an A/B test using data, you are going to miss out on some segments, right? And I think that's a little bit why Google has responsive search ads now, is because even if you determine that just for Google search, this is the best ad, that doesn't make it the best ad for every single person who's looking. And machine learning can actually start to target that right message to the right person. And so that goes far beyond the A/B testing that we typically would do as advertisers. Like, it gets pretty sophisticated. It means auction time insertion of different ads. And so I think Martin is sort of teeing up a good concept, but you could take it a lot further if you wanted to. And I'm sure Martin's thinking about this because he's a super smart guy. So even to tee this up as a concept, I think is really good.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, let's move to another piece of news. Searchmetrics has done a benchmark analysis of what has changed, or better, what hasn't changed after the multi-millionaire fine committed from UE to EU, sorry, to Google, and they promised they would have they will open the shopping part of their search experience to other providers, but actually it seems from this data that they haven't done it. So I don't know if you have some other thing to say to add.
Listen, I was born in Europe. I live in the United States. I think the EU is doing some very questionable things in many regards, and I think the CSS thing is one of them, where they just completely don't understand the market. And I think us as search marketers know a lot better. And so, of course, we jumped on the bandwagon of, hey, the government is basically giving us discounts. We should take those discounts, but are they actually doing the right thing to try to fix what they think is a problem? The answer is no. They don't know how to fix this. Their over-regulation is a bad thing. That's all I'll say on that topic.
Yeah, and this time I'm not completely agreeing with you, because I'm still living in Europe, but I think competition. If you have such a dominant position like Google has, some sort of balancing of it is something a government should look at. So, but let's move to another.
We'll discuss it in Italy when I'm there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, anyway, it comes better when you are drinking a little wine and so on. Everything settles down. Okay, another post by Abby Woodcock on responsive search ads. I don't know which is your experience so far with this kind of ads, but I pretty agree with they are not by now turning out cards and table or on ads strategies in Google, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so a few points. I think this is early days for Google. Yeah. I think the system will certainly get better, and sort of to the point I made about Martin's post about A/B testing for ads. The more components Google has over time, the better they will be able to show the right component to the right user. And so the results probably will continue to get better as the machine learning technology gets better. Also, when we used it for OPTMYZR, we actually built this tool that helps you very quickly set up responsive search ads from your existing ads. And so we were testing that tool, and we normally when we test, we don't always push the changes to AdWords, but this one time we did. And in our test account, it's a pretty crazy account. We had some really bad ads, and actually those really bad responsive search ads worked really well. Surprisingly, they had really good performance. And so that was kind of surprising. But then a lot of customers that I speak to, they're not seeing great results. They're seeing kind of a mix of results. And I think that's what this article is saying too, right? So again, like with everything in PPC, you got to test it. You got to stay on top of it. And but at the same time, you have to keep thinking that machine learning gets a lot better. So it's not because it's not working today that we give up on it today. We have to be ready for when all of a sudden this is going to start doing much better.
Yeah, absolutely agree with it. Okay, yeah, was that promotion? Yeah. No, we opened subscription yesterday, and we have almost done with the early birds. There were 40 tickets at very low price, and they are gone in less than 24 hours. So we're going to move up very soon.
Yeah, get those tickets, and when you come to the show, come to the English track, which I'll be moderating. I'd love to see a full room and
yeah. But there will be also translation, automatic translation. So like last year, so it was a good experiment. Let's move to another part. 3Q Digital is yeah, they are enumerating the good and the ugly, the good and the pro and the cons of the new attribution tool by Facebook. They're not saying anything really that you can't find anything anywhere else, but just an overview from a user point of view. I don't know if you have something to add to this. No.
Yeah, I mean,
not
they
really.
introduced this tool. I think attribution modeling is something important to look at, and another free tool to use. Great, let's check it out.
Yeah. And then here is something you should know quite good. I think it's a post from a colleague of yours. Just recalling the basics of the campaign priorities use, the technique which was pioneered by Martin Gerving, and it's a very nice article explaining it in details.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about Martin Gerving, we talk about Crealytics and Andreas Reifen, some very smart people in this space, and kind of recapping some of the best practices when it comes to shopping campaigns and how you manage those. Very pertinent, I think, through the holiday season, although that's now just passed. But yeah, even if you have seasonal campaigns coming up this winter, I think there's some good nuggets in there.
Exactly. Okay, let's move to another thing, remarketing tactics to mitigate post-holiday waste, because of course, after a big spike in traffic, sometimes you have to almost every time you have to close somewhere if you don't want to waste money, because people are not buying anywhere. They already did it, and so there's nothing really strange or absolutely which is not something we all do, but it's a nice recap in this article by I can't remember who, Miguel Taggart. So it's a nice, simply a nice recap of what we are probably doing naturally.
No, and I mean, audiences have become so big ever since Facebook, but Facebook has that cycle where it was super popular, and now everybody's like down on Facebook because of all the scandals that happened. But let's not forget sort of what's interesting about what they do, which is the audience targeting capabilities and how Google has those capabilities too now. They can do some really cool things. So it's always good to see these best practices shared. Especially when we have a slower news time of the year, right? Like during the holidays, there's not that many new products being announced. So let's take a look at what others have seen success with.
Yeah, exactly. Another piece of news: Instagram is the hot thing in PPC at the moment. Like Amazon. Amazon is the third player in the world by PPC spend. In the second half of 2018, they literally exploded, also because they pushed their ads everywhere in Amazon. So, and also Instagram is maybe is one of the reasons why the founders left. He's probably pushing with with ads everywhere. So it's something to look at.
Yeah, I live in the Silicon Valley, so I'm very well aware of some of these frictions that happen between founders, and so this was an interesting one. So at OPTMYZR, we're definitely seeing that Amazon is huge, so we're going to be building more Amazon products, which will be very helpful for our shopping advertisers. Instagram is not on the roadmap, and I think a little bit the difference that maybe some agencies have is that on Instagram, it's more about the story format, and it's quite different from what we're used to with keyword targeting and kind of like shopping product targeting. So it seems to be pretty powerful, but it's kind of like a mind shift. And so it's kind of that trade-off, right? Like you have to learn a whole new system, a whole new way of doing these ads, and then figuring out, is it big enough yet for that investment of time to actually pay off for us?
Okay, last one. Last thing is Michel Morgan. Again, I've not done it on purpose, but she she will be at ADworld Experience too. It's the first time. I think it's 3 out of 4 people who wrote the post are coming, so it's not done on purpose. And she recap the all the manual and automatic bidding options in Google. And there was also something I didn't know actually, so that's why I pointed out this news. Target impression share has been introduced a couple of months ago. Target search page location, I didn't focus on that, and outranking share to outrank a competitor, a direct competitor, and viewable cost per thousand viewable impressions. I thought it was only for display campaigns, but I think it's I don't know. It's a display only bid strategy. Yeah. I was. It was like I knew. Okay. So actually, I was reading wrong, thinking that Google had introduced the CPM also for search, but I was wrong. She said that it's only a display option. So, what do you think about automation and bidding strategies?
Right. I mean, and this is the complexity, right? Like there's so many options. So Google says, hey, you can automate it, but you do have to choose from 10 different automations, and then they all have different settings. So our job as PPC experts is far from being done. And even if we put something on automated bidding, we still have to keep a focus on the targets. Because ultimately, really what these automated bidding systems are is a way to say, what is my target? And then Google translates that to a CPC that's being bid in the auction. So whereas in the past, we would make the CPC move up and down, now we have to move this target up and down. And that piece in between, that's what's being automated. But Google itself even gives examples, like if you're going to have a big promotion, a big sale, you should probably change your target CPA, because it'll take Google too long to notice that your conversion rate is changing as a result of this sale. And so you would miss all the opportunity. So when we talk about automated bidding, there are pieces being automated by Google, but we still have to manage it. And then what Michelle's talking about here, so I actually like to call it smart bidding and vanity bidding. Like target at rank, target position, like that's all vanity bidding, right? Like most PPC advertisers care very deeply about hitting CPA, ROAS, profitability goals. Those are the smart bids.
Yeah. Completely agree also on that point. Okay, thank you, Frederick. You have been very kind to stay with me virtually for this edition, and maybe we will do it again. And thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.